The next item on the agenda is approval of agenda. I need a motion to approve. Motion by Mrs. Rogalski. Second by Mr. Collins. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It passes 7-0, which leads us into our next agenda item, which is the swearing in of our newly appointed school committee member, Amy Vogel. And Mayor Mutter is here to do the honors.
Thank you,
However,
Matt.
Mayor Mutter would like to do it.
Well, I might move up there, but I appreciate it, Madam Chair, members of the committee, but I did speak to Ms. Vogel last evening. So I just want to say a few words about the departing member, Mr. DeMonica. So I've had the pleasure of serving, or actually knowing Mr. DeMonica for a long time. And Mr. DeMonica served honorably in a bunch of subcommittees, as well as the school committee. And, part of my self-reflection, even last night, is that we always kind of, when we're saying see you later or goodbye at the end, that's when we thank everybody. So I do want to thank all of you now for all that you do, and certainly even under the best of circumstances, it can be a stressful job, and certainly it hasn't been necessarily the best of circumstances over the last few years. So appreciate all your good work. But Mr. DeMonica always brought he had his own authentic style to whatever committee that he was on, but I think on substantive matters he was always it was always in the best interest, whether with the town or the students. So, and certainly Paul and I had our moments, as probably most people who I have served with we have had, but. As the mayor, I just want to say that I'm appreciative of Paul's efforts, and personally thank him for all his years in all his capacities. So I appreciate the indulgence on your evening, Ms. Vogel, to say a few words about Paul DeMonica. So where would you like me to go, Madam Chairperson?
Well, I'd like you to be on the microphone so people can hear you.
So I guess...
Yeah.
Okay. So raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Amy Vogel,
I, Amy Vogel,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will
that I will
support the Constitution
support the Constitution
and obey
and obey
the laws
the laws
of the United States of America
of the United States of America
and the state of Rhode Island,
and the state of Rhode Island,
that I will,
that I will,
in all respects,
in all respects,
observe the provisions of the Charter
observe the provisions of the Charter
and ordinances
and ordinances
of the town of Cumberland,
of the town of Cumberland,
and will
and will
faithfully discharge
faithfully discharge
the duties
the duties
of the office of school committee person.
of the office of school committee person.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I do want to recognize Council President Kinch and the council, which Ms. Vogel went through that process honorably. There are a ton of really good candidates, and council did a great job going through that process, so thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor Mutter, for doing the honors tonight, and welcome officially, Ms. Vogel, Mrs. Vogel. We're excited to be up to 7 again. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the student government report.
My name is Maddie Estes, and I'm the Vice President of Student Gov at Cumberland. For a recap of November, our biggest event was Adopt a Family. As a community, we helped 31 total families from the Adopt a Family program as well as DCYF. We held an event to wrap these presents, and they were delivered to the families in time for Christmas. We hope to have helped all families to have a happier holiday season. This past Friday, January 20th, we held our first winter ball since 2020. The event was at Wright's Restaurant, and students had a great time. We appreciate the teachers who chaperoned and helped get this dance back up and running. A lasting tradition we've had since last year is Staff Member of the Week, where Student Gov members vote for a teacher they feel deserves to be recognized for their hard work, connections with students, and going above and beyond inside and outside the classroom. Our first Staff Member of the Week in 2023 is Mr. Kenahan, a physics teacher at Cumberland. We truly appreciate everything our teachers have done and enjoy recognizing them weekly. Looking forward to March, we are gearing up for another year of Pennies for Patients. Students bring in donations or donate online to support the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Each year, some type of competition is put into place, whether it is by grade or by subject, to see which group can donate the most. This has been an extremely successful and impactful event in the past that we hope to keep growing each year. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is consent agenda. Approval of minutes from the regular meeting, January 12th, 2023. Approval of minutes from the executive session, January 12th, 2023. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Oh, Mrs. Rogowski? What's that? The executive session minutes weren't, didn't we just, okay. All right, we need a motion to approve. Motion by Mrs. Rogowski, second by Mrs. Feather. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 7-0. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the personnel announcements. Mrs. Duncanson.
Good evening. I will be quick tonight. Only 3 items. First is a voluntary quit of a probationary employee in ICSI effective January 18th, 2023. Natalie Rivera, paraprofessional PALS community. Second, resignation effective January 27th. Nikki Sofrades, paraprofessional success at BF Norton. And finally, resignation February 17th, 2023 of myself, Catherine Duncanson, Director of Human Resources. Thank you very much.
Yes,
Madam Chair.
Mr. Collins. And then
Ms. Duncanson, I do have a question. Just how many open vacancies do we have right now? I know.
I can get you that tomorrow. We have, we fill every day, and then we unfortunately have people going out or leaving every day. But it's, I can get you that tomorrow.
No, I appreciate that because we've been getting emails, some correspondence from the community with bus monitors. People have been asking about that. We're still
Well,
down.
we're always understaffed with bus monitors. If anybody wants to apply, we welcome your
Yeah,
application.
you took the words right out of my mouth. So
Yeah.
easy
Yeah.
hours.
We are always, always, always looking for bus monitors. We are never fully staffed, unfortunately.
Dr. Thornton.
Madam Chair, just a few words on Ms. Duncanson. I had the pleasure of first meeting Ms. Duncanson as an attorney back around 2007, and then in the capacity as HR. I was going to say she's one of the highest quality persons I have had to work with. So it's really, I'm really sad to see her go, but I wish her the best.
Mrs. Duncanson will be at the next meeting? Okay, want to make
Yes.
sure. Your last meeting will be the February 16th meeting. Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is a report out of executive session meeting on January 26, 2023. Report out of executive session votes. We don't have, we didn't take any votes. So then the next item is vote to seal the minutes of the executive session. I need a motion to seal. Motion by Ms. Smith. Second by Mrs. Rogowski. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? It passes 7-0. The next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report. Dr. Thornton.
Madam Chair, good evening. First, we have a special recognition. I'll turn it over to Mr. Crowley.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for having us once again. Emma, come on up. Why don't you come on this side, Dr. Thornton, please. So this young lady in front of you is a young lady who's a sophomore here at Cumberland High School by the name of Emma Kutzel. Emma is a phenomenal young lady and excuse me, let me back up, a great student athlete and even a better person. She's the type of kid that personifies our student athletes here at not only Cumberland High School, but locally and nationally as well. Emma is the next in the long line of girls soccer players who have played here, who are going to have phenomenal careers in front of them. Val Groh went to Villanova. Lindsey Cunningham ended up going to Brown University. Steph Ribeiro at UConn is now playing professionally in Mexico. Julianne Ross playing at Northeastern. Abby Dresdick just graduated from UMass Lowell. All these just Division I athletes of our girls soccer program. This is Emma's sophomore year in high school, where she scored 20 goals, had 19 assists during the season, and was a consensus All-State player. Her coach, John Hoxie, nominated her for All-American status. Unfortunately for Emma and for us, our season, the night before the semifinal game, Emma had a slight mishap during practice, and her season was over, but she had done enough to merit the All-American status. There are roughly 275,000 student athletes who play women's soccer at the high school level in the country. 63 of them were recognized as All-Americans. 3 of them were sophomores, and 1 of them stands right before you. So it's my privilege and honor to introduce to you All-American Emma Kutzel. So why don't you hold on? Oh. Emma would like to give a speech. You sure you don't want to speak, Emma? You don't have to, just kidding. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair. Just
And Dr. Thornton, can I say something to Emma? So I'm Mackenzie's mom, Kenzie Friedman, you might, yeah. So you were a freshman last year, she was a senior. And my dad, Kenzie's grandfather, would come, of course, to all the games. And all he wanted to do was watch you play. And he would sit on the sidelines and he's like, you gotta watch her, keep your eyes on her, you gotta watch her. And he's in Florida now for the winter. So I texted him earlier today. I'm like, you know that girl, Emma, that you like to watch? I said, All-American. So he says, congratulations. Kenzie does too. I texted her too.
Madam Chair, just 2 quick ones tonight. First, it's that time of the year. We have kindergarten registration opening February 15th. And as always, we have the link online to just follow the tab and the directions, and you can get enrolled in K. So that's our first announcement. And second, we have some new pictures from today from school construction to give you an update of where we are. First, a little blurry. I apologize. It's my camera. I need to have a new camera. This is the Garvin addition. This is the one part of our project we are not on schedule. We are behind schedule a little bit, so we have to still pour the foundation, and the weather has not been cooperating, so that has to happen. So we have to make up some time on the foundation at Garvin. Inside Garvin, things are going quite well. This is, if you walk in the main door of Garvin, there used to be a classroom there. That's not going to be an open classroom space. Right now it's being jacked up by a temporary wall. That wall is down. It's an open space like you see in Cumberland Hill in those open classrooms. That's what you'll see as you walk into Garvin. This is the old cafeteria at Garvin, now classroom space. Last week, you can't see it here, we had to dig up some old drain pipe from probably 1940 that was not viable. So it's good now, it's all new PVC, so we took care of that and we're moving forward. This was a staircase at Garvin, no longer a staircase. They're going to punch through there to the new addition. So that's now looking down at the staircase that was the second floor of Garvin by the library. Here, this was the library. Now it's classroom space, so that's moving along. It's framed, the ceiling is good to go, and now we're going to the next step with the sheetrock. This, another open classroom space that was a wall of a classroom, another open classroom going there. This is a bathroom as you walk into Garvin. We gutted them, and now it'll be a total redo of the boys and girls rooms as you walk in the main door of Garvin. And here we have Ashton. Ashton's moving along. As you know, just the addition this year. Half the roof is in, the other half is on site. So it's moving along really well, on budget, on time for the addition at Ashton. So we're really excited about that. Another view of Ashton. In community, once again, moving along. Steel is up. Roof trusses are coming in. And we're excited about that addition as well. Once again, this is the 10,000-foot cafeteria and the classroom space over at Community. And as you know, Community currently has a cafeteria in a basement with 6 lunches, which is not really good. Lunch from like 9:30 to like dismissal. So now this is a great space, and we'll have 3 lunches for the students at Community as well as Garvin. Another view of Community. And that's my update on construction. Happy to answer any questions, Madam Chair.
Any questions or comments for Dr. Thornton?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I skipped an agenda item, or I went over it, so, because we added it. So the chairperson's update, the school committee 2023 meeting roadmap, which I believe Cindy put into, if you could take one and pass it down. Or, I know you can't read it. I know you can't read it. But Cindy printed it for us. But it is in the drive. So one of the things that I just wanted to lay out for the school committee and is for us to be able to see the big picture of the year and the things that we need to be keeping our eyes on and the things that each of the kind of staff department leads are keeping their eyes on. So this is really just for you to review, understand. What I tried to add on to this as well at the bottom is additional meetings and events that happen in each month, the ones that at least that we know about, so you can know to expect that, you know, in May, that there will be 2 town council public hearings for the budget that we typically attend, and in June is high school graduation and the budget votes by the town council meeting that we might want to attend. We are planning a school budget workshop, school committee budget workshop, either in February or March. So that will be a special meeting for all of us, and Mr. Prignano will walk us through in detail how different parts of the budget are put together. But just letting you see that I have a line here for the budget, so you can understand when we need to submit the budget to the town or to the mayor, and then what the mayor does and how that back and forth kind of goes and what that time frame is. So you're just not caught off guard in terms of in any one of these months where we might have to have multiple meetings because we're going through the budget. I also highlighted in here, you know, things where you can see in February by the HR office when we talk about if there are non-tenured teacher non-renewals, that comes before us in February. If there are any teacher layoffs, that comes before us in May, any certified teacher layoffs. So just so you can get a sense of when this stuff happens. And then one other thing I just want to point out is on the top line under superintendent's office, I bolded some of the executive meetings where we evaluate the superintendent, which is one of our most important jobs that we do. So, and I realized as I put this together that we are behind schedule, I think. Policy says that we should be having a mid-year progress report by the superintendent in our exec session. So we'll get that on the docket for our next meeting. But you can see in June, Dr. Thornton would do his self-assessment. We'd begin our evaluation. We would complete our evaluation in July. And then in August, we'd be working with Dr. Thornton on setting the goals for the coming year. So this is in the drive. I'll probably keep this updated. You can read it in the drive, so that's good. But just to give you the lay of the land for 2023, there may be some things missing, but you can see also like Assistant Superintendent's Office, the RICAS report is in December. You can see when the RICAS, when they get released in October. So just kind of high-level look at that stuff. Any questions or comments on this? Yeah, Mrs. Rogowski?
Just for family planning, I just happened to notice, is it correct that graduation is going to be June 16th this year?
Yeah, June
CHS?
16th is graduation, right? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, the other thing I meant to add on here too is just the actual dates of the meetings in each month. So just to kind of keep it all in one place so we can update that. Yeah, Mrs. Feather and then Mr. Collins.
Thanks. Is this, so it's in our drive, which I very much appreciate. Is this something that is publicly available?
It can be publicly available. Yeah, because now we
I
talked
just meant
about
like
it.
put it on a website or something like that.
Yeah, we can talk about where that should go, Mr. Chandler. Yeah.
That's all.
Mr. Collins? Oh, yeah.
Yay!
Oh, Ms. Smith?
I just want to say thank you. Putting this together, this is really nice to have.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is the first time I'm seeing it.
Well, I would say that Mrs. Vogel, beginning in January, kind of prompted it for me. I'm like, oh, we should let her know, how do things work for the whole year? And I think it's still helpful for all of us to know how things work for the whole year. So, all right, so that's that item. The next item on the agenda is reports of standing committees. Item A, Fiscal Management Subcommittee Update. Mr. Collins?
Good evening, Madam Chair. Good evening, fellow committee members and those in attendance and watching on YouTube. The Fiscal Management Subcommittee met this evening. We have resolutions before the committee for later. There was no payment of the bills. There was no business office monthly report. But we did meet, as everybody's aware. We met last night. We had our first joint meeting with the town. Very informative and it's a step in the multi-month process, and we look forward to that and the help of Mr. Kench and the mayor. Is he still? No? So things were very harmonious, and we look forward to working down the road to come to a collective agreement on the budget moving forward. So, yeah, just resolutions tonight, and we we welcomed our new subcommittee member, Mrs. Vogel, so already contributing, so thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Collins. Policy and Procedure Subcommittee Update. Mr. Fiorello?
Yes, policy did meet on Tuesday evening. We discussed the student athlete handbook. Our athletic director, Marty Crowley, was there. He had made some changes after we had had our last meeting, and those were introduced. We will be able to vote on that later on in the meeting. We also did a final review of J27, the suicide prevention policy, which is state mandated. And Dr. Santa had made some changes to that since our previous meeting. And we reviewed that. We will be having the first reading later on in the agenda. I do want to just mention that although it was up for vote in policy, we took no action. We just sent it directly to the school committee, only because there were some small language changes, nothing substantive.
Substantial.
Substantial, yes, thank you. That's the word I was looking for, thank you. So we just sent it this way so that when you guys looked at it, it would just be the full policy with those changes. But we can discuss that, we can discuss it now, actually, because it's not actually up for discussion later. It's just going to be a reading later, well, because it takes 2 readings before we can vote on a new policy.
Thank you, Mr. Fiorello. Would anyone like to discuss it with Mr. Fiorello right now? Okay. I didn't think so. Okay, item C, Achievement and Communication Subcommittee update. So the Achievement and Communication Subcommittee did meet last night. We had one main agenda topic, which was a review of the academic progress at BF Norton. And we had a wonderful meeting with Mrs. LaRiviere, and Assistant Principal Homan, and their MLL, Multi-Language Learner Specialist, and their academic coach, who really came in and gave us an overview of BF Norton and the progress that they've been making academically. And it was a really good presentation, a really good moment, I think, for all of us to understand that this particular elementary school, who has a lot of challenges in terms of the population that it serves, at least 41% economically disadvantaged, 16% are multilanguage learners. There are 10 students who speak no English at all at BF Norton. Challenges, learning challenges, all kinds of things. But their RICAS results are really something to be applauded for the progress that they're making from last year, and then everyone's trying to get back to pre-COVID results. But, they had a 5% increase on ELA, 18.8% increase on math, and they're just on this upward trajectory. So, and also when we compare them to, not to always compare them to BVP, but when we have a similar student populations, we want to ensure, or want to be able to look and compare and say, are we having similar results when we have similar populations? And the results are a staggering no, in that the BF Norton results are anywhere from, 20 points, well, let me see, I didn't do the math fast enough, 16 points to 25 points higher, depending on what you're looking at in which school. And when you start looking at the populations who need the most support, that's where BF Norton is shining too. When we look at MLL learners and we're looking at special ed, that their results are just, they're making great, great progress. So that was good. And much of that has to do, some of that with their MLL specialist, which was a new position that we put in this year to support those student populations that really need it, and an academic coach that we put into the budget last year, well, actually it's under a federal grant, to allow the coach to work with the teachers to make sure that every student is getting what they need. So there's still a lot of work to be done. We talked last night at the town council meeting about the challenges around parents completing free and reduced lunch applications and concerns that they have. And we talked a lot about what we could be doing to try to have some outreach to parents and really make it a safe space for everyone, so that the families are getting the support that they really need all across the board. So it was a really great meeting. In our next meeting, February 7th, we will be focused on the achievement-related items of our budget that we'll be proposing to the mayor. Yeah, Mr. Collins.
This is what is becoming a regular reminder. First of all, congratulations to BF Norton. We did that, and their upward trajectory is very impressive. But this is what I always consider now a regular reminder of why charter schools were formed in the first place. They were designed to target these underperforming areas, high needs kids, all of those things. But the fact of the matter is, once again, we are grossly outperforming the charter that was designed to service these students. We are supplementing an underperforming district in town. And I hope parents take notice. Dr. Thornton was talking about kindergarten registration. That's upcoming. Parents are going to have a choice. And every time we sit in these achievement meetings, or we hear Dr. Thornton or Mr. Damana talk about, not only RICAS scores, but when you sit down and you talk to the building administration at any of our schools about school culture, the teachers love being there, the kids love being there, and they're getting the best education in Cumberland at the public school districts, not the charter schools. So I hope parents consider that when they're making the decision of where to send their students. And at the last meeting, I asked Dr. Thornton about whether or not we have the capacity. I often tell parents who have students at BVP that we'll leave the light on for you. When you're ready to come back, we'll be ready for you. And I hope that more parents recognize what everybody up here in attendance and anybody who pays attention recognize. It's not even close. Cumberland Public Schools are some of the top, are near the top in the state, not only in academic performance, but in multiple categories. So again, I do appreciate BF Norton coming, but we're hearing the same thing from other schools too. So thank you for facilitating the meeting, and I want to thank the BF Norton. There's nobody here, but the BF Norton people taking the time to meet with us.
Yeah, I just want to point out that you said BF Norton's free and reduced was
Yes.
41.
Yeah.
That's very low, actually, normally, because it's normally around 49 point something. Yeah, and that was pre-COVID, and we know that those numbers should have increased, so we really need to do a better job of outreach. I also want to mention how, although BF Norton did outscore BVP substantially, BF Norton also has a very large special ed population. There are 2 special ed classrooms there, which really points to the supports that those teachers are giving those students to help them succeed. Also, I just want to give a shout out to Rosanna Santana, the MLL coordinator at BF Norton. She's been there for a long time, and this is just a new role for her. So, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Collins?
Sorry, this was said at the chief meeting, so this is public information, but there was, the child? So it's public, yeah, there was a child lost on the streets recently, and when the police found the child, he asked for his teacher. Yeah, in the middle of the night, he asked for his teacher. So that gives you an idea of what's happening at BF Norton. So that was very impressive, and I thought that I would share that to people, with people as well.
Okay, thank you. All right, next item, District Health and Wellness Subcommittee update. Mr. Rogalski?
Thank you. My update is far less exciting and much shorter. We are actually meeting next Tuesday. We have several items on the agenda, including some updates from the Satchel Pulse surveys that's going on in the schools right now. I'm speaking with someone tomorrow about this new grant that they're offering for People's Gardens, which is to create new gardens at schools. So I'm hoping to get some information to bring it to the committee on Tuesday. We have a lot of things to talk about, including Indoor Recess Rocks, which is Indoor Recess Week coming up in 2 weeks. Yes, Indoor Recess Rocks, not rocks that you hold.
rocks at recess. That's not good.
But we have a lot to talk about on Tuesday, so I'm excited to get back to it.
The next item on the agenda, public hearing, reading of new policy J27 suicide prevention. Mr. Fiorello, anything to add?
Not really, just that I asked the policy to be read into the record, and I was incorrect. We will be discussing the policy more in depth later if you'd like.
All right, thank you. Next item, there is public comment related to that new policy. Seeing none, we will move to our general comments from the public. President Kinch.
Couple of quick comments, Madam Chair. First, on behalf of the Cumberland Town Council, I'd like to congratulate Ms. Vogel for her appointment to the school committee. And last night, there was a lot of congratulations going on, but I want to do this officially, and we really look forward to working with you. Really, really appreciate it. I also want to take a second, and I think I talked to a lot of members who were there, but the ones who were unavailable, I want to thank you for the participation in that selection process. I don't think, Madam Chair, we could have made it any more transparent, gave it the time, and it wouldn't have been possible without your cooperation. So thank you very much on that. And I also want to take a second to thank our All-American, Emma, for all the hard work, and we know anybody, or we know people who are in youth sports, the travel, the money, there's a big commitment there. So I want to not only congratulate her, but her parents, and the athletes out of Cumberland never stop amazing us. And the last thing, I just wanted to thank for the meeting we had the other night. I think setting the groundwork of the cooperation is going to go real far as we go into the budget season. So thank you very much.
Thank you, President Kinch. Next item on the agenda is old business. Item A, discussion and/or vote to approve the student athletic and parent handbook. Mr. Fiorello.
Yes, I actually thought, I don't have it with me. We did make one small change to the athletic handbook. There was different penalties for the athletes if they were caught with a nicotine vaping device. We have now aligned that with the same penalties if they are found with a cannabis vaping device. So on your second violation, you will actually be cut from the team. So that is a new standard to reinforce the idea that the nicotine, cannabis, any other drug, alcohol, we take it all very seriously, and we need to have, penalties attached to that. Yes.
And I know Coach Crowley and Mr. Costa talk about this to the student athletes, but it's very important that the students understand, and I know the coaches reinforce this, that it's a privilege to play, especially listening to as Mr. Kinch just mentioned, talking about the achievement that we're seeing on the athletic field. It's an honor to play for your high school. It's a privilege, but, the name on the front is more important than the name on the back, and you're hurting your teammates when you make those bad decisions. So I think, and it's not a Cumberland issue, a lot of the high schools are dealing with this. Students have to decide whether they want to be committed to the collective goal of winning or competing at a high level or do their own thing. So I applaud the handbook change because I think it helps not only school administration, but also the coaches in reinforcing that. Listen, if you want to start vaping and drinking and all that other stuff, that's your business, but you're not going to be part of this team. So thank you I'm fully in support of this.
Yeah, to reinforce what Mr. Collins just said, one of our parts of discussion on Tuesday night was the fact that you are representing Cumberland, and therefore you need to be held to a higher standard. So that's why some of those changes were made. I will make a motion to approve how's it actually worded? Student Athletic and Parent Handbook.
Mr. Fiorello makes a motion to approve, seconded by Mr. Collins. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? It passes 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Fiorello. Next, discussion and a vote to approve amended resolution. Mr. Collins.
Ms. Feather's excited. Here, we have SCPR-02-2022-14A, the JJM Cumberland Hill Furniture, Fixtures, and Equipment Purchases, various vendors. This was tabled at the last meeting. There was some language that needed to be adjusted. That has been since corrected. This passed Fiscal Management Subcommittee 3-0, and I would move passage to the full committee.
Mr. Collins makes a motion to approve the amended resolution. Do we have a second? Second by Ms. Smith. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? It passes 7-0. Thank you. New business, item A, discussion and a vote to approve authorization to administer the 2023 Rhode Island Youth Risk Behavior Survey. Dr. Thornton.
Madam Chair, you have a survey in your drive, middle and high school level from the state. We have samples of the questions. This has been given since around 2007, so looking for your consideration to approve the administration of the survey.
Mr. Collins.
I think I already know the answer to this, but for the record, do parents have the I actually wrote it down. Do parents have the option to opt out of the survey? And if so, how do they go about doing so?
Yes, on the front of the survey, there's a page I'm handing Mr. Collins right now. That's the opt-out page that a parent would fill out to not take part.
So if a parent does not fill this out, the student will be asked to fill out the survey.
Yes.
If a student refuses to fill out the survey, is there any sort of consequence at the school level for non-compliance?
I think I have to take that one case at a time at the school, but I think we can certainly work through those situations.
And this has already been in your weekly communications, right? Is this something that's going to go out?
Actually, Mr. Costa has a few thoughts.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. We don't fight with the kids. Even if the kids don't bring in an opt-out form, we ask them to fill out the survey, but we don't chase them to fill it out. The survey is actually administered to very small groups of students in the school. Jay and myself, our schools are randomly chosen, and then within that, they'll ask us to submit a list of our classes, and then they're going to tell us, you're going to administer this to these 6 classes or these 8 classes. That's the way it's been done in the past. And then they give us the whole timeline for it. They provide us with all the information. They'll tell us 4 days before you administer the survey, please give students the opt-out form. So everything is pretty scripted for us. But to answer that question, we don't chase the students.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions for Dr. Thornton? Okay, any of the pleasure of the committee?
I'd like to motion to approve.
Mrs. Rogalski makes a motion to approve. Second by Mrs. Feather. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? It passes 7-0. Thank you. I gotta make sure I'm looking at the right agenda. Is there an item B? Oh, can I just look at that for a second? I printed out too early. Okay, item B, discussion and or vote on community elementary school, review of committee evaluations and recommendation to award RFP for construction manager at risk for Phase 2 scope of work. Whose is this? Dr. Collins, Mr. Collins.
I want that bump in salary. So this was presented to the Fiscal Management Subcommittee. This is an RFP for construction manager at risk for Phase 2 scope of work. And this has been, it was recommended by Colliers that we award this to Allberg Construction. There were a couple bids. Allberg is already doing work in the district, and they came in by the low bidder by actually a substantial amount. This passed Fiscal Management Subcommittee 3-0, and I'd move passage to the full committee.
Mr. Collins makes a motion to approve the awarding of the RFP. Do we have a second?
Second for discussion.
Second by Mr. Fiorello for discussion.
I just want to point out that this was heard last night at the building committee meeting, and it was approved unanimously there.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes 7-0. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, discussion and a vote to approve homeschool instruction request for the 2022-2023 school year.
We have none, Madam Chair.
Oh, we don't have any. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is discussion and a vote to approve the first reading of the new policy, J27 suicide prevention. Mr. Fiorello?
Yes. Dr. Santa, would you like to make any comment about the policy? Otherwise, I mean, we've all seen the policy. I know Mrs. Vogel may not have seen the policy. Have you seen the policy? Okay. It is largely I'm going to call it a template from the Department of Education, which really wasn't a template. Dr. Santa did the majority of the work in consultation with her mental health team. They went back and they looked at some of the changes. What you see before you is the final version. As I said, there were just some minor language changes, wording that was not, grammar changes that Mrs. Smith brought up. But yeah, this is our policy. This is what they've been working on for the last few months. And as I said earlier, it is mandated by the state that we have this policy. We're a little late bringing it about only because we wanted to do it in a very thoughtful, deliberate way in consultation with all of our mental health team. So I would make a motion to approve the first reading.
Second for discussion?
Okay.
I'm sorry, you have to. Sorry.
Okay, Mr. Fiorello makes a motion. Mr. Collins makes a seconds it for discussion.
I do have a question. So this is centered around the district's policy as it pertains to suicide. Do we have any measures in place with students? Because students are often, unfortunately, the first to see these changes in behavior that we associate with suicidal people. Is this something embedded in our curriculum? Because, you know, the way this policy is written is how the district handles it. But if we have a student in crisis, it's going to be his friend, his girlfriend, his teammate, who's going to be the one to identify those characteristics. Are teachers having those discussions with students in any capacity? And do students know what to do if they're concerned in a change of behavior?
I'll let Dr. Santa answer this, but I can give you the answer she gave the other night, really. This policy really just reinforces a lot of the work that's been done consistently in this district. A lot of the new information is really just around the training of the personnel.
So the policy is really about the training that's required and also what we need to add into the health curriculum. It is discussed, but probably not to the extent that it needs to be. And you would be correct that we often will hear about issues with students from other students, and it usually comes in a couple ways. One, gaggle is one way. The other way is they'll come to a mental health worker, they'll come to a guidance counselor, they'll come to a teacher and let them know, and then they know to let mental health be aware that there's an issue. We also get it from Snapchat, Facebook, student incident report, that was, I couldn't remember the name of that report. There's a student incident report that they can fill out, things like that. So we do tend to get notification from other students. Do I think we could do a better job? Always, right? But it also has to be part of the overhaul of the health curriculum, which Mr. Demona's office is working on. Yep. We did pick the training program too. We're going to use the SOS training program. It's one of the approved ride. Other districts are using it. It seems to be pretty consumable, I guess is the word, manageable, easy to use, and people can do it online. Now we're just figuring out what time. When do we have staff do that? Okay. Any other questions?
I do want to just thank you and your team for all the hard work that you put into this policy.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, so they really, I wrote the framework, they reviewed it and gave some feedback really about identifying the people that would be responding and making sure we're super clear who can respond to a crisis, who can respond and do that clinical work, because at that point, guidance can't do that part. It has to be a school psychologist, has to be a social worker, it has to be one of our consulting clinicians. So we just defined that out. If in the one in your drive accidentally says grounds, Cindy, I know, had put the wrong one in the drive and was going to go and update it, but I'm not sure if she got to it before tonight. Did she? Okay, great, it's done. Okay, it's all up, it's all set, sorry.
Mr. Rogowski?
It's my fault, not hers.
Just going off of that, we all know the struggle to supply the schools with mental health professionals. Just a logistics question, if we do encounter this, who will be if the school doesn't have someone on site?
We always have somebody on site, so there's a couple of different ways we handle this. So we have our school psychologists, and yes, a lot of times they're shared between buildings. If that person is out, we go to the next person close. They call our office, and we find the next person to go. Sometimes, if they're already involved with our clinical staff, which are here about 50 hours a week, in case you're not aware, the Center for Psychology and Learning, which is Dr. Oswicki, Dr. Natalia Mazinski, Dr. Ivy Rollins, they're here in our social emotional support programs, as well as assisting in the preschool, ICANN classroom, some of our other specialized programs. One of them is always on campus, for the most part. They're not all here every single day, but the way they schedule, they stagger it, so there's always someone here. So they've also done the backup for us. Plus the social worker, or social workers, we have 3, can also do that. But to go on the point while I'm here, I will say, yes, we need more social workers. There is no doubt. And I actually was kind of teasing Phil and saying that one of the things that they could do is outreach to families regarding the free and reduced lunch paperwork. Right? That's one of the things that social workers can do. I am aware of the budget issues, but I always every year come here and tell you that we need more. Our schools are drowning right now with just need. So that's it. I took the chance to plug.
Mr. Fiorella?
Yeah, I just want to say just how lucky we are to have Dr. Oswicki and her team. They have been an invaluable resource for this district, and they go above and beyond really what we pay them for. So, thank you.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Fiorello to approve the first reading of the new policy. We have a second by Mr. Collins. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? It passes 7-0. Next item, discussion and or vote to approve resolutions. Mr. Collins.
Good evening again. We have 5 resolutions. I'm not reading all of them, Kerry. We have SCPR-1-2023-08 through 2023-12, all 5 of which passed Fiscal Management Subcommittee 3-0, and I would move passage to the entire committee.
Mr. Collins makes a motion to approve SCPR 01-2023-08 to -12. Do we have a second? Second by Ms. Smith. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That passes 7-0. Thank you. And next, discussion and or vote to approve payment of bills. Mr. Collins.
There are no bills this evening, so
Okay, the next item on the agenda is school committee comments, school liaison reports. Any comments from the school committee? Mr. Collins.
I've talked too much tonight, I know, but I know everybody's probably going to go around and just congratulate Mrs. Vogel for being here. We're welcome. I know she's been working hard right out of the gate, so trying to get up to speed. So it's an honor to work with Amy, and I think we're all going to get along real well. So anyway, congratulations, Amy. We look forward to working with you.
Other comments from the school committee? Oh, Mrs. Rogowski?
I just wanted to remind people, and I think actually the last day for registration was today, but the district is offering through the state parent ESOL classes at BF Norton. And the last day of registration was today, but I thought maybe if there's anyone out there who really wanted to try and sign up for it, to reach out and see if there was a possibility.
Any other comments? I would echo Mr. Collins' comments. Mrs. Vogel, we are very happy to have you here, very happy to have a full committee once again. And I want to acknowledge President Kinch and the town council for including us as part of the process. And I also just am still, it was a real feel-good moment to see so many people come out who wanted to participate. So I'm just encourage people to get involved, reach out to us, however. But that was a really nice night. So we're happy to have you here. The next item on the agenda is vote to go into executive. Oops, sorry, Mrs. Vogel. I'm sorry.
Well, I got to be honest. Since I've been appointed, everyone's been here open arms and very welcoming and supportive and informative. So thank you to everyone, from the town council to the school committee to the school administration. So I'm lucky to be a Cumberland resident. It's great to have.
Next item, vote to go into executive session, but I don't believe we have any. Dr.
All
Thorpe?
set, Madam Chair.
Okay, next item is adjournment. I need a motion to adjourn. Who said it? Mrs. Rogalski?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Feather. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes 7-0. We're adjourned at 7:59 PM. Thank you, everyone.